guys, it's Coach Allen, and I'm going to tell you how you prepare for a game. But when we talk about a pre-game workout, I'm also talking about pre-practice. I'm also talking about pre-workout. The mentality's not going to change. In fact, I would expect that you approach every practice and you approach every workout with the same mentality that you would approach a game. But to keep things simple, we're just going to simply call this the pre-game routine. And there's a few things that you need to know. First and foremost, your pre-game routine doesn't start 30 minutes before you get to school or before you get to the gym. Your pre-game routine actually needs to start the night before. And it's so important, first and foremost, that you're fully rested. It's vital that you get great sleep the night before any type of competitive environment. So again, whether it's a workout or a practice, your sleep is vital. It's also important that you fuel yourself the night before. I'm also a big believer in making sure that you are mentally prepared. So the unconscious that your body goes through before you go to sleep, being able to read something motivational or uplifting, or watch something, or run through your playbook, do anything that you need to do to prepare for the next day, you do it that night before. And if you prepare mentally, you get great sleep, and you eat well, now you've laid the foundation for the actual game day. I'm a huge believer in being in a routine and having set rituals and habits. So you need to figure out as a player, what types of foods give you the best result when it comes to performance. You should have a standard pre-game breakfast or the day of a game breakfast that you find gives you the most energy and allows you to focus on the task at hand. So you need to get up, you need to make sure that you're eating that breakfast, and then of course there's a wide variety of differences between what's going to go on during the day. This could be a school day, it could be a non-school day. This could be an afternoon game for a tournament, or this could be a night game for a high school season. You might have to play several games in one day, or it might again just be a singular effort. So I'm going to speak in rather generalities, but you can still take these and funnel them into whatever your exact system is going to be. So going back to the pregame, a few hours before tip-off, 3 to 4 hours, is when you need to eat your pregame meal. And your pregame meal should certainly incorporate some protein and some fat, but should have something in it that's going to help boost your energy levels. So some carbohydrates. But I'm not going to jump into the specifics of exactly what you need to eat. These will be things that you'll figure out over your career as you figure out your own body, you figure out what you enjoy eating and what gives you the best result. But you need to make sure that you're eating 3 to 4 hours before you play. That gives your body enough time to digest it and be able to use that food for energy. You also need to have some type of ritual to help you prepare for the hours leading up to the game. I've worked with thousands of players over my career. Some of them like to listen to music, some of them don't. Those that listen to music, some of them like to listen to something upbeat and aggressive. Others like to listen to something like classical music that's a little bit lower key. So just like with food, you need to find out what you need to do from a ritual and habitual standpoint in order to perform at your best. As we start closing in on the hours before the game, now it's imperative that we get your body ready. We're going to need to make sure that you go through some type of warm-up, something that gets you going through the primary movements of the game of basketball, something that gets you running and jumping and sliding and pivoting and lunging. And then we need to make sure that you go through an active warm-up. Now in just a minute, I'm actually going to show you a warm-up that you can do with little to no space. And remember, this right here is just the performance warm-up. It's also vital that you go through some type of skill warm-up as well to make sure that from a ball handling and shooting standpoint, from a passing standpoint, that you're ready to play. But we want to make sure that we go through this warm-up because we need to prime your body and your mind for all of the different movements that you're going to do when the lights come on and the cheerleaders start dancing. It's going to be so important that you've already gotten loose, that you're sweating. That's going to help lubricate your joints and loosen up all of your muscles and tendons and ligaments, as well as actually take you through the different movements you're going to need when you play. Now, I recommend going through your warm-up about 45 minutes before tip-off, and your warm-up should last maybe 15 minutes, anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes. If you have access to a lot of space, if you have access to an entire gym or a long hallway, that's great. You can do more movement-based stuff. If you don't, Even if you're confined to a smaller space, there's nothing wrong with that. I was very fortunate in my career to work at two of the most prestigious high schools in the United States. Montrose Christian, which is where Kevin Durant went to high school, and DeMatha Catholic High School, which is where Victor Oladipo and Markelle Fultz went to school. And it didn't matter who we were playing or where we were playing, we made sure our players went through an effective pregame warm-up no matter what. And there were lots of times that we would play at a school where we had to do our warm-up in a classroom, or we had to do our warm-up in the locker room, or in a very small hallway. So don't use space or time as your excuse. 45 minutes before tip-off, you and your teammates should be going through a very intense and structured warm-up. Now I'm gonna give you a couple examples of some things you can do with limited to no space. So just imagine right here, this little square footage area, I could be in a classroom, I could be in a locker room, it doesn't matter where I am, but I don't have a ton of footprint to use. So I can't do a lot of sprinting, I can't do a lot of sliding, so I have to make the most of this. So one of the things we can do is just a series of jumps and hops. So I can get my feet going back and forth. I'm just loosening up my ankles. I can get them going front to back. I can get some twists going on, just loosening up the core, loosening up the hips. And I know you guys always want to know about sets and reps. For this stuff, I actually prefer to go for time. I would pick one of these different movements and go for 20 to 30 seconds and then switch to another movement. But the key is to make it continuous. I want to see how much quality work you can get in a 15-minute warm-up, which if you're switching movements and exercises and drills every 15 to 20 seconds, that's gonna pack a powerful punch. You're going to get a lot of quality work in within the 15-minute time. So now I just did some stuff on one leg, or two legs. Now I can do everything off of one leg as well. So we can go back and forth, we can go front to back, we can add that twist in. Now we also want to get some movement in. So I can go from a body weight squat standpoint. So now I'm loosening up my hips. Anytime we're doing anything for warm-up, the easiest thing to change is to change our feet. So I can go wider, involve a little bit more of my groin. I can go narrow, challenge my balance. I can go with a staggered stance or a split squat. Same thing on the other side. Then we can move to one leg. I can go palms to the ground and come up. So we're getting a balance component. The key is just making sure that we're moving. Depending on how big of our footprint is, I can even add in some basic movements like a crossover step and stick. Very short footprint, but I can still get some great movement in. Crossover step, stick. Crossover step, stick. Same thing with the slide. What you need to do is mimic as many of the 6 movements of basketball as possible. We have sprinting, backpedaling, defensive sliding, lunging, jumping, and pivoting. The more of those 6 movements you can go through, the better off you'll be. Then we can move to some active stretching. So we could do something like a series of alternating knee hugs. And again, these are just examples of what you can do. We can pull heel to backside. We can get a series for the hamstrings. And just notice that I just keep moving the entire time. Each one of these for 15 to 20 seconds. We can do a superhero reach, alternating from side to side. And as you can probably hear, even as I'm talking with you right now, I'm starting to get a little short of breath because my heart is beating. So we're getting the heart beating, we're getting the blood flow. You can already see I got a little bit of sweat going on. I am warming my body up. Now you can go through a series like that for 12 to 15 minutes. You should have a light sweat and every area of your body, from ankles to knees to hips to shoulders to core, should be loose. At that point, you'd come back into the locker room for your coach's pregame talk, which might last 10 to 12 minutes. And then you'll actually go out to the court and go through your pregame warm-up for what you do on the court. From a performance standpoint, all of the dirty work should be done behind the scenes. I don't believe in using the 20 minutes that are put on the clock when you guys are shooting layups. I don't believe in using that to get your body warmed up and ready to play. At that point, it should be 100% skill focused. You should be working on your ball handling, your passing, your shooting, and your finishing. So all of the performance stuff is actually done behind the scenes. Once you hit the court, you should be 100% ready to play at the highest level possible. And again, it doesn't matter if it's for a game, for a practice, or for a workout. If you need to compete, you have to be prepared. Hey guys, it's Coach Allen, and now I want to talk to you about your post-game routine. As we said with pre-game, we're calling it post-game, but this is also post-workout, this is also post-practice. Anytime you exert yourself physically and mentally, we need to make sure that you are ready to recuperate afterwards. And it's so important. I would say one of the biggest differences between the best and the rest is the attention to detail that they give during their rest and recovery and after they exert themselves during a practice, a workout, or a game. So if your game just finished and your coach is talking to you and tells you everything that you guys need to work on, that's when the post-game actually starts. First and foremost, you need to make sure that you refuel and rehydrate your body. If you played as hard as you were capable of playing, regardless of how many minutes you played, you've exerted a ton of energy. So we need to make sure that you start to refuel at that point. And refueling is going to make sure that you're eating healthy foods and you're drinking a ton of water. Whether or not you choose to use a sports beverage like a Gatorade or a Powerade is completely up to you. But the most important part is you're going to refill the water and the nutrients that you lost and expended during the actual workout. You also need to do something to help take care of your body. So we need to do some post stretches. I'm not a huge fan of static stretching in general, but if there is going to be a time that you're going to do it, the best time to do it would be post-practice, post-workout, or post-game. And there's a variety of different movements that you can go through, and I'll show you a few of them. But before we do that, it's also important that you do something for your mind, that you do something to settle your mind down and to calm your mind down. I'm not a big advocate of reliving what you just did during the game because your mind is still in a very emotional state, and I don't want you to have a biased view of what you just did. Whether you played well or you played poorly, whether the team did well or did poorly, I believe in getting away from it for the night and then actually being able to look at it with fresh eyes the next day. So you don't need to relive every play, good or bad, in your head, and you certainly don't need to watch film that night. You need to do something that's going to calm your mind because you need to make sure that you get a very good night's sleep. Now, as far as some of the movements that we can do, a lot of it will be floor-based. So we're gonna get down and we're gonna go through a variety of different, we'll just call them stretches for lack of a better word, to make sure that we're keeping all of our muscles loose. We can also do some stuff with a foam roller, and then techniques like ice baths are great to use as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna have a seat right here. And the first thing I'll do is I'm gonna hug both knees into my chest. This is great for the lower back. And then we're gonna do what's called one of the world's greatest stretches. It's the pretzel. I'm gonna lay on my right side. I'm gonna pull my right leg in, and I'm gonna try to put my left knee down on the ground and keep my shoulder flat as possible. And this is stretching just about everything you've got. As far as sets and reps are concerned, you can hold these for anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds and do 2 to 3 rounds. I would obviously do the same thing on the other side. Then we can actually flip over to a face down position, and we can do what's called a cobra stretch. So we're gonna make sure we stretch out our abs, make sure we're stretching out our core, great for the lower back. And then I can take that, what's called a down dog. If you've done any type of yoga, you'll recognize this position here where I'm trying to make a triangle with my body. And then I'm gonna bring my foot up so that my feet are in front of my fingers. My back leg is as straight as I can get it. And I'm simply, if my left foot's forward, I'm gonna raise my left hand to the sky. Once again, you can do each one of these for 15 to 30 seconds, 2 to 3 sets for each. It's a great way to help your body eliminate many of the waste products like lactic acid that built up during your workout, during your practice, or during your game, and that's what we're trying to flush through. And we also want to make sure we're constantly working on both our flexibility and our mobility. So we want to do this as soon after the game as possible. So what I would recommend, your game is over, your coach talks to you, you take 15 to 20 minutes to go through a post-game stretch session. Then you go to make sure that you're getting hydrated and fueled up. Then you take it to the mental component, and maybe you listen to some music that helps relax you, or do whatever you can to make sure that you get a good night's sleep. But it's so important to remember that what you do after your practice, after your workout, or after your game is going to set the tone for the next day, for the next practice, the next workout, or the next game. Many players ignore this portion of it, and then they're actually starting from inside a hole the next morning. It's so important that you take care of this stuff now, and it's definitely what separates the best from everybody else. Hey guys, it's Coach Allen here, and I want to share with you my favorite stretches for basketball. And the reason I put those in air quotes, some of these are more for flexibility, some of these will work on mobility, some of them are static stretches, some of them actually involve a little bit more movement. But the key is they'll help you improve your flexibility and mobility, which will help you in just about every area of your basketball athleticism. This stuff is great to do before and after practices, workouts, and games. And anytime you can go through a fuller range of motion, it will actually improve your ability to run faster and jump higher. So I'm gonna give you an entire series of my favorite. The first one we'll do, I'm just gonna get down in a plank position. I'm gonna bring my foot up so it's in front of my fingers. I'm gonna straighten my back leg as much as I can, and I'm just going to rock back and forth very gently at first. And then I'm gonna turn it into a more aggressive rock where I'm actually rocking my hips back and I'm pointing my toes to my nose and I'm almost straightening this front leg. And of course, we'll do the same thing on the other side. So we start, toes in front of fingers, just a gentle rock at first. And then we can turn that into a more aggressive rock, really working that hamstring. Another combination I love to do, we'll go from a cobra position, so pelvis on the ground, chest up, hips down, working those abs. We'll take it from here and we'll go to a down dog. So we're gonna try and get the back straight, legs straight. We're forming a triangle with our body. So we're getting some calves, some upper back, and some hamstrings. And once again, so we'll go from here to our down dog. As far as time or reps, you can do these for either or. Usually from a time standpoint, you're looking for anywhere from 15 to 45 seconds. From a rep standpoint, anywhere from 4 to 10. Now I'm gonna get in what's called a catcher's position, like a catcher in baseball. My feet are flat on the ground, great for strengthening and improving the mobility in the hips and groin. I'm gonna put all 10 fingers on the ground and I'm gonna raise my hips as high as I can, get a good pause at the top, and then drop them back down. So we're going hips to the ground, hips to the sky, hips to the ground, hips to the sky. Get a really good hamstring stretch at the top. Another one of my favorite combinations. I'm going to go to a lateral lunge. When we laterally lunge, we want to keep everything facing forward. Going to get a really good groin stretch here, and I'm going to step over and get a good IT band and hamstring stretch on this side. And then coming back, lateral lunge, left over right, hamstring stretch. We're just going back and forth. This is one of my favorite combinations because it works just about everything you got, especially from a lateral position. Another one we can do when we're seated, great for the hamstrings, also for the calves and Achilles. I'm just gonna stack my feet here and I'm just gonna reach towards the front leg. Real intense stretch in this calf, trying to keep my chest up and my back flat, and we're just gonna hold. Of course, anything we do on one side, we make sure we do on the other. Really intense stretch. One of my favorite stretches of all time is called the pretzel. So we're gonna lay back, we're gonna lay on one side. If I'm laying on my right side, I'm going to pull my right heel back behind me and I'm gonna put my left knee on the ground and I'm trying to get my left shoulder back on the ground as well. Tremendous for the hip flexors, IT band, glutes, and core. And I'm just gonna hold. And of course, we would do the exact same thing on the other side. So I hope you like those combos. Those are some of my favorite flexibility and mobility combinations for basketball. Hey guys, it's Coach Allen. A question I get all the time is the difference between training a young basketball player and say a professional or somebody that's in the NBA. I've been very fortunate in my career to have worked with over a dozen NBA players. But here's the thing, I didn't work with them when they were in the NBA. I actually worked with them when they were in middle school and high school, and they simply matriculated up to the NBA. So the differences between training someone at that level and training someone at the youth level, there's actually not a lot different. The fundamental principles are going to be the same no matter what. Now what will change over time is their training age, their training maturity, their training experience, which means they'll be able to do more things at higher intensity with more volume. But it really doesn't have anything to do with one being a youth and one being a professional player. So when we look at the differences, since those are minimal, let's look at the things that are going to be the same. Well, whether you're playing middle school basketball or you're playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers, the movements required for the game of basketball are identical. You have to be able to sprint, you have to be able to backpedal, defensive slide, pivot, lunge, and jump. So since those movements are the same regardless of age or regardless of level, those are the movements that we're trying to train. Those are the movements that we're trying to get stronger and more proficient at. So they're not going to change. Now again, what's going to change is as you become older and you increase your training age and your requisite strength, we can add certain levels of intensity. We can add different types of external load and different modalities. But the fundamental principles are going to be the same no matter what. Let's talk a little bit about basketball strength. See, it's important to realize that we're not trying to just improve the numerical value of a weight that you're lifting in the weight room. We're trying to get you basketball strong. Whether you're a brand new player in middle school or you're somebody advanced like Kevin Durant, an all-star and an MVP, the goal is the same, basketball strength. And basketball strength means that you want to be able to perform all of your skills, shooting, passing, rebounding, defending, and handling the ball, perform all of your skills at maximum speed, with maximum efficiency against contact. Those are the three most important things. So how much weight you can lift is irrelevant. And whether you're a middle school player or an NBA player, you need to be able to do those things. So that's basketball strength, and the training, again, is going to be very similar. If we're going to look at basketball speed from middle school to the pros is going to require the same things. It's going to require that you can accelerate as fast as possible, you can decelerate and stop on a dime, and you can change directions quickly and efficiently. Basketball speed is about starting, stopping, and changing direction. See, when people hear the word speed, they usually just think north to south, linear speed. Well, basketball's not a speed game in that regard. In fact, whoever can run from baseline to baseline uninterrupted the fastest means nothing in the game of basketball. It means absolutely nothing. Basketball is all about starting and stopping, accelerating and decelerating, reacting and changing direction. So again, those are the type of traits that we want to make sure we're improving. And then let's look at basketball conditioning. Whether you're in middle school or whether you're a pro, the game requires the same types of energy systems being used. Being able to run 4 or 5 miles at a slow, continuous pace means nothing for the game of basketball. Basketball is about high bursts of short duration, intense movements, the movements we just covered, followed by minimal rest breaks. So you need to be able to sprint as fast as possible for 8 to 10 yards, stop on a dime, make a different transition move, and then do another type of movement pattern for about the same time. And you're gonna break those up into a variety of different components. That's how you train to get in basketball shape. So whether you're in middle school, high school, or you're a pro player, you need to work on developing basketball strength, you need to develop basketball speed, and you need to get in basketball shape. And it's not going to matter the approach that you take as far as your age. What matters is working on those very specific fundamentals. And when you can do that, then you're maximizing your performance as a basketball player.